Wednesday, and today we'll be covering 3 of the best romantic comedies of all time here on The Verdict. Welcome to The Verdict. I'm Jeralyn Johnson.
I'm Delaney McCorkle.
And I'm Tristan Sartor. Immigration, imitation, and eccentric family members, The Proposal definitely sets a standard for romantic comedies. Sandra Bullock stars as Margaret Tate, a mile-a-minute book editor, who says that she's engaged to marry her neurotic assistant, played by a young Ryan Reynolds, in order to avoid deportation to her native-born Canada. They travel to Alaska for their wedding, where Margaret gets her fiancé's eccentric family, and must make their wedding plans work despite a nosy immigration official. Here's a trailer for The Proposal.
I need you around this weekend. You have a problem with that?
It's just my grandmother's 90th birthday, so I was going to go home, and it's fine. I'll cancel it.
Is that your family?
Yes.
They tell you to quit?
Every single day. Margaret Tate's office.
Your visa application is denied. You're being deported.
I'm from Canada.
Pardon the interruption.
Gentlemen, there's something you should know. We're getting married.
Who is getting...
You and I. You and I are getting married. Can't find a love like ours.
No. I'm not gonna marry you.
If you don't, you'll be on the street looking for a job.
Have the two of you told your parents?
We're going to their place this weekend.
Oh, where's that?
Alaska.
Alaska.
On June 19th, some proposals change you.
Let's see a kiss.
For better or worse.
If you get chilly, use this. I call it the baby maker.
Be super careful with that one.
Sandra Bullock.
Hello?
Ryan Reynolds. The Proposal.
Maybe it loosens certain areas.
It's like an Easter egg. There they are.
Yeah, that's it.
In theaters June 19th.
Would you fly to Alaska with your coworker to see this movie?
Yes.
Definitely. I loved every second of this. I had to rent it from Amazon, and I texted my mom because I think it might have charged her card. I texted her, I said, just take the money out of my account. And she goes, oh no, you're fine. I love The Proposal. She's like, it's such a great movie. And I was like, I'm very excited to watch this. And I was not disappointed.
Of course, yeah.
Absolutely.
It's so good. And it has Betty freaking White in it, of course. Like,
yeah.
She's so adorable. And the movie's just so funny. Like, because like they hate each other. They are really just not like a fan of each other. And then they have to pretend that they're lovey-dovey when they're really not. And then she starts like falling in love with him because of his family and stuff. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like, I mean, I don't blame her because it's Ryan Reynolds, of course. But I mean, everything about it is just so good. I love the movie. I was not disappointed about it. I mean, I've seen it so many times that I'm like, oh my God, I can't watch it again. But I was never disappointed with it.
Anything with Ryan Reynolds in it, and I'm there for it. I was so excited when they said that we were doing this movie because I remembered that it had Ryan Reynolds in it, and I was like, yes, it's about to be hilarious. I laughed from the beginning to the end, whether I was crying. I was laughing.
Well, that's the thing is interesting. It's definitely an interesting part on kind of what I call the Ryan Reynolds timeline, where you can watch his evolution as an actor. I mean, there's Green Lanterns and things like that kind of diff it a little bit, but overall, I mean, his comedic timing has always been really consistent. And I think that's something that's made him a very talented actor. And I was never a huge rom-com kind of person, but I've always been a Ryan Reynolds kind of person.
Mm-hmm. I really think one of my favorite parts of this movie would probably be like the wood scene where she sings the song and she's like pretending there's a chant. Yeah. I love that part because it's Betty White also. She's really just she's so underrated because she's just so tiny and funny, and also she's so old and she's still kicking it. Like she's such a great actress. But then I love the parts where like they just take her around town and all these like crazy things keep happening to her, like her phone and the dog and her trying to like get a new like phone and the computer wasn't working and she had to go like use dial-up or something like that. Oh my God, like just little things like that happen to her like all the time, and it was just really funny to watch that. And then they take her out that night and
Ramon.
Yeah. Oh my, that was
the only exotic dancer on the island.
And he's like has every job on the island. And he's just, oh my gosh, that movie is just so good. And then I had such bad anxiety watching it because I was like, oh my God, because like I thought for sure they were gonna find out that they were like not actually in love with each other, and then those crazy things kept happening. But then like they started like getting to know each other, and it was just like this journey of them like discovering each other. But like it's super like, I don't know, it's just really pure to me.
Yeah, I definitely knew it was going to happen. I mean, if you're a fan of rom-coms, you always know what is going to happen.
You don't go to rom-coms to like...
You can't not. So I knew that they were going to fall in love in an unrealistic amount of time. That doesn't mean I didn't love it any less. It doesn't mean it didn't get me in my feels. Doesn't mean that Betty White didn't rock the screen the whole time. When she faked her heart attack,
that was the funniest.
I definitely called it. And she was like, "Don't make me call your mom. Take us to the airport."
Right. Oh man, it's just so. I feel like it's definitely been overplayed, but at the same time, it's like definitely one of those underrated like rom-coms, because I feel like The Proposal is just like wide spectrum. Like so many things happen. It's funny as all get out, because I mean Sandra Bullock is also really funny too in general, and then Ryan Reynolds, you know, he never disappoints, and then just I don't know, just the on-screen chemistry, because they would never work, and then like you imagine like them coming together and you're like, what, the whole time, and then they do. So it's kind of like heartwarming, because you're like, no matter what circumstances you're in, even if you hate each other, you can always fall in love, you know?
Yeah. So I did have there was one thing when I was watching The Proposal that caught my attention, and I don't know if it was just like a discrepancy thing, but they were talking about they were celebrating their first anniversary, like when they were telling the story of the proposal that he gave her. And they were like, she was like, we were celebrating our first anniversary, and I don't know if she meant like year, like whatever, but I'm assuming year if he was going to propose.
Right.
And then later when they were in the barn and the dad was like, the dad showed him that the guy was there, and they were like, we need you to make a statement. And he was like, here's the statement. We started dating 6 months ago, or she's my boss. We started dating 6 months ago. I asked her to marry me. She said yes. And I was like, I thought that was going to come up, because I was like, that was a discrepancy. She said 1 year, he said 6 months.
Yeah. And
I was like, what? And it didn't come up, and I was like,
well, I think those little inconsistencies, I mean, people generally go to these kind of movies to feel pretty good. I don't think there's a whole lot of investigation into.
But obviously you're observant.
Yeah.
I'm observant because I love rom-coms. So like there's like small, and especially with this type of rom-com where they weren't actually in love, where they had to pretend, I was like, okay, so there's going to be a detail somewhere that like slips them up. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, oh, that's the detail. But then they never mentioned anything about it. So either they didn't catch it, or like it just wasn't how they wanted it to do. Like in the end, like Sandra Bullock's character was like, yeah, we're not actually in love, or like that wasn't the point of this wedding, whatever, because they were in love. Like,
what about how sad it was when that ex-girlfriend was just around, and I was like, man,
I didn't like her. I liked her, but I hated her, because I was like, I just want them together already.
I know, but you also like feel bad for her, because it's like the family is still involved with her, because she still lives there, and you're just like, why did they end up together? And then it's just really sad. But I mean, they do explain that. I always forget that they do. But so that made me like, that was like one thing. But then like my favorite part is at the end, like the end credits. Like whenever they were like, they're like, hey, we're actually getting married for real this time.
And he was like, how long have you guys been dating? A week. What's his favorite color? Red. No. Blue. No. Purple. No. What's her favorite color? Blue. What's her favorite color when she leaves the house? I don't know.
Those kinds of questions. It was so funny. And I also love that actor who played like the official. He's a really good actor. He's been in a lot of good stuff. He's really versatile too, and he always freaks me out because like he's so serious. Like I'm like, man, he's really, really serious about what he's doing. So
yeah, it was definitely a worthwhile film.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I love it so much. Crazy Rich Asians, which is based on the book by Kevin Kwan, was released in 2018, and it follows New Yorker Rachel Chu as she meets her longtime boyfriend Nick Young's old-fashioned family. She gets to experience the cutthroat life of rich Asia as she struggles to keep her relationship with Nick. Directed by John M. Chu, let's take a look.
Singapore for spring break. Colin's wedding. We've been dating for over a year now, and I think it's about time people met my beautiful girlfriend. Come on. I'm Colin's best man. Don't you want to see where I grew up? Meet my family, my Ama, and meet up with that strange college roommate of yours.
Take Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
She has been begging me to come visit her, you know.
The universe has spoken. It wants you over there. Come to Singapore. I want the whole island to meet the brilliant Rachel Chu.
Aww.
this movie make you want to meet your fiance's strict family overseas?
I thought it was a good film. It was decent.
I actually highly recommend. Every time I told someone that I watched Crazy Rich Asians, they're like, was it good? Was it good? Yes, I loved it.
It was definitely funny.
Yeah, I would say it was a fun ride. It was definitely had one of the most interesting color palettes of a film as far as like aesthetics wise. It was a beautiful film. I really loved looking at it. And I guess it's a big part of a rom-com is enjoying seeing what you're seeing. It's just as far as me, personal plot wise, it just felt a little soft to me. It didn't particularly feel bad for any particular reason. It just felt soft in my opinion.
I mean, there was a lot going on in general with the whole movie. So, I mean, it kept you going the whole time. But at the same time, this is one of those historically monumental moments in film history, I think, because we just had Black Panther come out, and then we have Crazy Rich Asians, and people didn't think it was going to be good at all. And this movie has, like, been in the top of the box office for a while now, and I was honestly thoroughly impressed with that, because I was like, this is really cool, because now we can like see what other people are doing, and we can continue that, and maybe they'll instill that into future movies. Because I feel like foreign cinema is not a big thing, but like also like culturally inclusive films, this is really a big moment in history, honestly.
That's something that I like to see is like, even though it does follow the same like romantic comedy like structure and everything for the most part, I love being able to see into other people's cultures, and I read some of the reviews on this movie. Well, I read one actually, and it was talking about how it was one of the closest things she'd ever seen to like actually getting the culture correct, and like she was so proud that the main character wasn't just some weak woman that let the man decide everything, and she did her own thing. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. So when I actually watched the movie, I got to like appreciate that. Another thing that I liked about the movie is, you know, they always do that thing where like the couple ends up separated. It didn't actually happen the way I thought it was going to happen.
Right.
I thought that like one of the Amanda, the ex-girlfriend, I thought she was going to get in the way of things and like cause them to split. But it was when it was the grandma that like got to her, which also threw me. I don't know why I didn't expect the grandma and the mom to like have this plot to dig up all this information.
Right, that's what I was like, this mom, the grandma dynamic with the new girlfriend, like she's trying really hard, and you're just kind of like, dang, like give her some slack. She like, because new relationships are scary in that moment, because you're like, you want them to like you, you want that approval, because everyone wants the approval of the mom. The dad is like, okay, normally the dads are kind of easygoing, but I mean it's different with like the girl and dad kind of thing, but like with like the guys, you want their mom to like you. You're like, please like me, I'm new, I'm fun, I'm great. And she just tried so hard, and they just gave her a hard time the whole time, and I was like, poor girl.
But at the wedding, when she was they were talking about how that one lady like requested the whole row to herself, and then she went up there looking beautiful. Yeah. She went up and sat down and started talking to her, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, she's talking to her, like, what? But my favorite was the aunt that was like, would see her and was like, you look great. Like, I can't let her know that I'm talking to you, but you look fantastic. And also, at the end, when he proposed to her the second time, first of all, I was the lady behind her that was like, yeah, she'll marry you. But it was the mom's ring, which they talked about earlier, because the mom did not get accepted by the grandma. So the dad made a ring for her. So when the mom finally approved of her, she gave him her engagement ring to use. And I thought that, I was like, that's so symbolic. I was like, wow.
Right. Because it's all about acceptance and stuff. And then like this, it's so heartwarming, but I really just can't get past how like cool this film is, because it's like they have such a really good cast too. Like it wasn't just like one of those like really like, it wasn't like a low budget poor film or anything. Like it was a really cool culturally inclusive film with like a really good like set of actors too. So it was just, I was really thoroughly impressed. Like I did not think anything of it, and when I heard the name I was like, whoa, what are they thinking? Name of the movie that, and then like I was like, oh, okay. But like after I watched it and stuff, and I was like, this is actually pretty good.
It was definitely an interesting film. I will say that the cultural inclusivity is definitely a trend that Hollywood's going through right now. The one thing I will say is I feel like the plot felt a little soft in this. I think it was more focused on the cultural stuff, which I don't think they should sacrifice for a more compelling plot. You know what I mean? Just as far as from a long-time moviegoer's perspective, Inclusivity isn't a bad thing, but it shouldn't be. But I don't think plot should be sacrificed. Or I think it was definitely more focused on that than necessarily more traditional storytelling, I guess you'd call it.
But I'm sure they probably didn't even think this movie would be as big as it was either. I think that's something that might also be a factor in it as well. Yeah. Because, I mean, like you said, they shouldn't let the cultural inclusivity to let it swallow the plot. But there are ways that they can do that. But I don't even know what their budget was. So it's kind of hard to determine how well they thought this movie was going to be, which it ended up being a big smash. So it was awesome for them, I think.
I just have to say, as much as I would love to be in the main character's shoes, I am her best friend. Mm-hmm. When she drove her, first of all, when she drove her to the thing and she was like, this is jungle. She was like, did you just copy the address? What did you copy? Jungle and put it in and it just took us here? And then the guys with the guns, I was like, I would probably react the same way. And then she was just trying to get a look at the house and at Nick. Mm-hmm. And he invited her to come inside. She's like, oh no, I can't stay. Oh yeah, I'll stay for dinner. Yeah. And she goes to her trunk and she's like, cocktail, walk of shame dress. That was hilarious. And then there was another one that I couldn't remember. And she just pulled it out and she went and she's taking selfies the whole way up the stairs to the bathroom. I'm like, that is so me.
I think this plot was kind of cool in that way too, where it's no matter the economic stance that they have, they're still able to fall in love and stuff. Because that's also a big thing. Because it's people were really insecure about finances, especially nowadays. As bad as finances are, especially with being a broke college kid, it's kind of hard to you get really intimidated by people with money. So it's that's super cool that they included that story kind of in here, because it's you feel intimidated. So she went out of her way to impress them. She was like, I'm gonna do everything I can, man. And so I thought that was really cool too.
Also, I was going to say poker, when she was playing poker in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then she was talking about how the other person was playing, they had a lot to lose. They were not thinking about playing strategically, they were just thinking about, oh, I could lose whatever. And at the end when she's playing Mahjong, she's got nothing to lose. Yeah. And it shows her sacrificing that one piece and the mom winning. And then she's like, but I have nothing to lose, and I just played you. Right. I was like, wow, that's great. Well, yeah, love it.
It's definitely an interesting thing. You see that with a lot of things, the way people will react when they do have something to gain or to lose, and the levels of desperation that can and how that can affect a dynamic. It definitely makes for an interesting part of character behavior.
Yeah, the mom definitely had stuff to lose, and she played it like that the whole time. And I thought I was like. I didn't know whether I loved or hated the mom, because I understood where she was coming from. She wanted the best for her son and the family to go forward, but man.
Speaking of crazy though, in the 2011 film directed by Glenn Ficarra and John Requa, we are graced with many tales in one. The story unknowingly shows different perspectives for each character and shares what they go through as they endure the hardships and heartwarming moments that love has to offer, with an ensemble such as Steve Carell, Julianne Moore, Emma Stone, Ryan Gosling, Kevin Bacon, and more. It's near impossible to not fall in love with every single character and hope that they find the love that they deserve. So let's take a look at this at this story that unfolds as lovey-dovey telltale classic.
"25 years of marriage and you have nothing to say?" I'll just say it. I slept with someone.
If you keep talking, I'm going to get out of the car.
I think the fact that I did it just shows how broken we are. Okay. And how much we really... Oh my God! Help!
You're getting a divorce?
Yeah.
Amy heard you crying in the bathroom. We all thought it was cancer.
Oh.
Thank God, man.
Yeah, just my relationship.
Hi, can I buy you a drink?
Uh-huh.
Let's get out of here. Want to get out of here?
Yeah.
What are you doing later?
I don't know.
I do. There's lots of beautiful women in this bar, but I can't take my eyes off of you.
It's time to go home.
Oh, it's forward of you, but okay.
Yeah.
Should I pull the car around? Have you been drinking? I'll drive.
Hey, ladies man guy. Got any tips of the trade?
Your wife cheated on you because you lost sight of who you are as a man. Why don't you take that straw out of your mouth? It looks like you're sucking on it.
Okay.
You're sitting there with a Supercuts haircut, and you're wearing a 44 when you should be wearing a 42 regular. Credit card. Where are your wallets? Would you sleep with me?
Jeez, God.
Yeah, probably.
You would?
You gotta take control of your manhood, pal.
Can you put on some clothes, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, is this bothering you? Beautiful.
Looking at me. Look at that. What do you want to do with me?
I want to show you off to my ex-wife to make her really jealous. Oh, man.
I met a girl, and she is a game changer.
She's your soulmate, right? Go get her back.
Wow, how old are you?
I'm in love with her, and I don't know what to do about it.
I don't know when you and I stopped being us. You know, when I told you that I had to work late, I really went to see the new Twilight movie by myself. And it was so bad.
I should have fought for you.
Take off your shirt.
Why?
Will you take off your shirt? Seriously? It's like you're photoshopped.
Personally, this film has been one of my favorites for a long time. I think the dynamics between the stories and all the characters and how they all link together in the end is a wild ride, and it gave me this jaw-dropping feeling. What did you guys think?
I've always been a huge fan of Steve Carell. I mean, I can't think of one person in my group of people that I know that isn't a fan of Steve Carell in some extent, and I don't think this is any different. I think in general he really ties the film together, and yeah, it's definitely not, I wouldn't put it in my top 10 favorite films. I would put it in my top 10 Steve Carell films.
That's fair.
I don't, as a fan of rom-coms, like that's my go-to movie is rom-com, either that or like Marvel. But rom-coms are my go-to, and I don't know why I did not expect Hannah to not be related to them. I don't know why that didn't click in my head.
It didn't
Every
either.
time they said Nana, I thought they were talking about an old woman. Like, and just so... at the end, when Jessica, was that her name?
Yeah.
Jessica's parents find the pictures, and then they go, I'm like, oh no. And then
everyone is
and then Hannah walks in, and I'm like, oh no.
And then David Lynn Hagen.
Hagen does. That's what I thought of every single time.
And then they all just start fighting like a bunch of like teenage boys. And then
so first of all, Jacob goes up and punches David.
Yeah.
And then
he's like, "Oh, you're David."
Jessica's dad, Bernie goes up and like attacks Jacob, right? And
no, the dad.
No, attacks the dad. Like it just. Okay,
it just all happens so fast.
And at one point, I remember Jacob's character, Ryan Gosling's character goes, "What are you grabbing?" Because like all you see is like them, so like.
It was just so funny. Oh my god.
The secondhand embarrassment was real for everything that was happening, but at the same time, I was not disappointed. Like the build-up with the secondhand embarrassment was relieved with the comedic, like.
No, yeah. Then, of course, you get your famous meme of Ryan Gosling laughing in that serious moment, which is totally me. That's a big me mood. I was like, oh my gosh. Because, like, it was all stupid when it came down to it. I mean, I felt so bad for Steve Carell in the beginning. I was like, oh man, this poor guy. He's wearing New Balance sneakers. Drinking his, like, little cranberry drinks.
The very first scene when they're at the restaurant. And he's like, I'm trying to decide what I want. And she's like, me too. And he's like, on three, we'll say what we want. And he's like, 1, 2, 3. I want a divorce. And he's like, creme brulee. Oh.
It's definitely kind of I would say, and I think with that kind of humor, I would say it's definitely an early 2000s time capsule. In a lot of ways. It kind of captures that point in time. I think rom-coms in general, I think really capture that kind of early 2000s time, which is starting to become nostalgic now. It's actually interesting how, like, decade-wise, this kind of stuff is becoming nostalgic. It kind of maintains that timelessness in a way.
I just feel so bad for him all the time because he just keeps repeating that name, David Lindhagen. He made a cuckold out of me the whole time. And you're like, we get it, man. And then just Ryan Gosling's just staring at him like.
He's like, you want to know how I know all this personal stuff about you? Because you've been talking about it for 2 days.
And then I love that he took him in. I love that he took him shopping, and he looked nice. He looked cleaned up. I mean, not as good as the Steve Carell now, just saying. He blew up. But then like he was like teaching him all of his ways of how like he gets to, I don't know, how he goes on dates and how he gets to have fun and stuff. But then later he ends up dating his daughter, and he was like, I will never, nope, not in a million years am I going to approve this. And I was just like, oh my God, this is
like,
crazy.
You were literally just him.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
And then the fact that his son's teacher, he got with his son's teacher.
That cracked me up. Oh my gosh.
Because she plays crazy so well.
Is that the same woman that plays Aunt May?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. I couldn't tell, but I was like, that looks like her.
She was also in My Cousin Vinny. Like, she's a really crazy.
I love her.
She's a crazy good actress.
Fantastic. Hilarious because she sees him, and then she's like, do you want to tell your wife how you know me? And then when he doesn't tell her how he knows her, she goes off.
I can't even, because she was just like, hello. You know, that's some stuff that a lot of like females have a bad stigma for that. Like, that's crazy. But I mean, at the same time, he never called her, so
like
you kind of feel for her too. You're like, man.
When she starts going off and she's like talking about how like you never call me, whatever, blah blah blah, and the mom's like, I don't think we're talking about Robbie anymore.
And their son, he is so adorable. That poor thing. Oh, he's such a hopeless romantic, and he goes out of his way for that 17-year-old girl, and he's like, what, 14?
He's 13.
He's 13, yeah. So it's like a big difference in age.
And I do have to admit that would make me uncomfortable too.
Yeah, of course.
And I was sitting there watching this and was like, wow.
It would be embarrassing, especially if you go to the same school and he's doing all these romantic gestures in front of everyone. You're like, please stop right now. But then like she's like, I'm in love with someone else, and it's her, like his dad. I was like, ew.
You know, kill him if he hurts you, right? Not knowing who they're talking about.
Exactly. Which is like, it's all like this crazy stuff, and once it all like starts linking together, you're like, no way. So it just gets crazier as it goes on, and then the end was just so nice because it all ended happily, you know.
Of course.
Everyone gets the girl they want, kind of thing.
Have you seen a sad ending rom-com though?
Actually, yeah.
Really?
I prefer them. I think they're funnier.
No.
Well, Mel Brooks, Blazing Saddles, Robin Hood, Men in Tights, and Young Frankenstein are all on for next week's show. We'll see you then. I don't know, we were going.
We were all like talking and we were into it, and then we were like, oh, rap.